Yo, did you catch SB19 at BGC for the 2026 countdown? Because if you missed it, you missed history in the making. The energy was insane, the crowd went wild, and SB19 didn't just perform, they owned every second. From epic choreography to those fireworks syncing perfectly with every beat, it was a moment fans will never forget. This wasn't just another New Year Eve show, it was our SB19 moment, and trust me, everyone's talking about it. Smash the like, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Don't miss a second of this era. New Year's Eve stages are often mistaken for celebration platforms, but in reality, they are reputation courts. Artists don't come here to experiment, they come here to be judged. Unlike concerts filled with loyal fans, NYE countdowns attract everyone: casual viewers, critics, families, tourists, industry insiders. This is where credibility is either solidified or quietly questioned. And BGC is not just any venue, it is one of the country's most visible, brand-sensitive stages. Organizers don't take risks here. They assign acts they trust to carry national attention without failure. That's what made SB19's placement different. This wasn't a special appearance or a quick celebratory set tucked between fireworks. SB19 wasn't treated as an accessory to the countdown, they were positioned as a central force of the night. That decision alone speaks volumes. It signals confidence from producers who understand exactly what's at stake when millions are watching live. Nothing about this moment was accidental. SB19 didn't arrive at BGC through hype or trend cycles, they arrived through consistency, discipline, and proof. This stage doesn't exist to reward artists, it exists to test them under pressure. And SB19 didn't walk onto it as guests. They walked on as artists trusted to hold the moment together. Long before the first note was played, the pressure had already begun. Weeks ahead of the countdown, conversations were quietly forming. Online, anticipation mixed with doubt. Fans were excited, but critics lingered with a sharper question: can SB19 dominate a mainstream New Year's Eve crowd, not just their own fandom? This wasn't a fan-only stage. This was the hardest room possible. NYE audiences are unpredictable. Many aren't there for the artist, they're there for the moment. They scroll, talk, walk away. Winning them requires instant authority. And SB19 knew that. On top of that came the unforgiving reality of live national broadcast. No retakes. No edits. No safety net. One missed cue, one vocal slip, one drop in energy, and the narrative could tilt. This is what made the stakes so high. SB19 wasn't just representing themselves, they were representing what organizers believed modern Filipino pop could deliver on a national scale. Every movement would be watched, replayed, dissected. Every second carried weight. By the time SB19 stepped on stage, the test had already begun. This wasn't excitement, it was exposure. For on night, SB19 stood under a microscope where confidence alone wasn't enough. Only execution would decide the outcome. The opening seconds of a New Year's Eve performance decide everything. There is no warm-up, no second chance to earn attention. SB19 understood that, and they used it. The first visuals didn't rush or overwhelm. Lighting came in clean and deliberate, framing the members before the sound fully hit. That pause mattered. It created anticipation, not noise. When the first beat dropped, it landed with intention, not desperation. What stood out immediately was body language. SB19 didn't overperform or chase the crowd's approval. Their posture, spacing, and eye contact communicated control. This wasn't nervous energy, it was ownership. Before the first chorus even arrived, something shifted in the venue. You could hear it in the crowd's response. The cheers weren't polite, they were reactive. Phones came up. Attention locked in. Camera direction reinforced that shift. Instead of distant safety shots, the broadcast leaned into confident close-ups, faces, expressions, synchronized movement. That choice is never accidental. Directors don't commit to intimate framing unless they trust what they're capturing. It signaled belief in SB19's presence. Within seconds, the venue's energy changed. What started as a countdown crowd became an engaged audience. You could feel the decision being made in real time. This performance matters. Once momentum was secured, SB19 shifted gears from impression to execution. The performance wasn't just energetic, it was precise. Live vocals held steady against backing tracks, striking a balance that preserved power without sacrificing clarity. On a massive outdoor stage, where acoustics can easily betray performers, control is everything, and SB19 maintained it throughout. The choreography was clearly adapted for scale. Movements were expanded, transitions were clean, and formations were designed to read from a distance while still rewarding close-up shots. Nothing felt cramped or excessive. Every step served a purpose, reinforcing rhythm and presence rather than filling space. Each member had moments that pulled focus naturally, not through forced spotlighting, but through timing and command. These weren't isolated highlights, they flowed as part of a cohesive unit. No one rushed, no one lagged. There were no wasted movements, no filler breaks waiting for the next cue. When compared to international New Year's Eve performances, the difference was clear. This didn't feel like a local act scaled up for television. It felt like a performance designed for broadcast, tight, intentional, and globally readable. SB19 didn't perform to survive the moment. They performed as if the world was already watching. The most difficult audiences are not hostile, they're indifferent. And New Year's Eve crowds are filled with them. People scrolling, chatting, waiting for fireworks. SB19 didn't fight that reality, they read it. Early in the set, energy was measured, not explosive. This was intentional. They let the crowd breathe, observe, and slowly lean in. Then came the pivot. Call and response moments weren't forced, they were timed. Short, accessible cues invited participation without demanding loyalty. Casual viewers didn't need to know the lyrics to respond. All they needed was rhythm and confidence. That's when the shift happened. Body language in the crowd changed. Heads turned. Phones rose. Conversations paused. By the midpoint of the performance, attention was no longer scattered. Chants grew louder, reactions faster. SB19 wasn't chasing engagement anymore, they were directing it. The difference between performing and leading became clear. They controlled pacing, silence, and impact. The crowd followed instinctively. This is where conversion happens. Not through hype, but through authority. SB19 didn't ask the audience to like them. They gave them something worth responding to. And in a space where most artists struggle to hold attention for seconds, SB19 held it for minutes. The hardest audience didn't just watch, they joined. Camera work tells a story long before the audience realizes it. During SB19's set, that story was clear. The production didn't rely on safe wide shots meant to hide uncertainty. Instead, it leaned into confident close-ups, faces, expressions, synchronized detail. That choice signals trust. Directors don't gamble on intimacy unless they believe the performers can carry it. Reaction shots mattered just as much. Cameras frequently cut to crowd responses, cheers, raised phones, real-time excitement, then snapped back to SB19 at peak moments. This rhythm wasn't random. It reinforced cause and effect. SB19 moves, the crowd responds. Fireworks weren't distractions, they were punctuation. Production teams are risk-averse by nature. Live broadcasts leave no margin for error. Weak acts get distance. Strong acts get focus. SB19 received focus. Their reactions, micro-expressions, and confidence were treated as part of the narrative, not something to be hidden or rushed past. Most telling was how SB19 was positioned within the countdown itself. They weren't placeholders between segments. They were anchors holding the momentum of the night. The camera never lies. And on this stage, it made a clear choice about who deserved the lens. Midnight is not just a timestamp, it's a psychological reset. When the countdown reaches 0, whoever stands on stage becomes the bridge between years. SB19 didn't just perform near midnight, they carried the transition into 2026. As the final seconds approached, energy tightened. The crowd wasn't watching casually anymore, they were present. Then the moment landed. Fireworks ignited the skyline while SB19's music filled the space below. Sound and light collided, creating something more permanent than celebration, a cultural imprint. This wasn't background noise for a new year, it was the soundtrack of arrival. For countless viewers, SB19 became the first voice, the first image, the first emotion of 2026. That matters more than it seems. Memory anchors shape narratives. Years later, people don't remember full set lists. They remember who welcomed them into the future. Being the face of that moment carries symbolic weight. It signals trust, relevance, and cultural positioning. This wasn't about dominance or spectacle. It was about presence. SB19 stood calmly inside chaos and owned it. When history looks back, it won't just record fireworks and cheers. It will remember which artists were trusted to stand at the edge of time, and SB19 was there. The true test of a live performance begins after the stage goes dark. Within minutes, SB19's New Year's Eve appearance spilled across platforms. Clips surfaced on X, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, often uploaded by fans faster than official channels could respond. And many of those fan videos didn't just circulate, they outperformed. What made the reaction different was its range. This wasn't limited to dedicated fans. Casual viewers posted surprised reactions. Non-fans commented on stage presence, control, and energy. The language shifted from praise driven by loyalty to respect driven by observation. International attention followed quickly. Reaction videos from outside the Philippines began appearing, analyzing the performance without context or bias. That's a key signal of impact when interest forms without promotion. Algorithms don't push sentiment, audiences do. This wasn't a spike of hype. It was continuity. Engagement didn't collapse after midnight, it grew. Clips were replayed, moments isolated, expressions analyzed. The internet didn't inflate what happened at BGC. It validated it. What the stage proved in real time, the digital world confirmed in echo. Momentum replaced speculation. Some performances create noise. Others create leverage. What SB19 gained from this New Year's Eve stage wasn't just applause, it was repositioning. Until this moment, SB19 was widely recognized as a top P-pop group. After this night, they crossed into a different category, a trusted national act. Trust is the rarest currency in live entertainment. Organizers don't care about fandom size alone, they care about reliability under pressure. SB19 proved they could command a mixed audience, carry a live broadcast, and hold energy at the most sensitive moment of the year. That makes them low risk and high reward. Exactly what decision makers look for. With that trust comes change. Bigger stages don't just mean louder crowds, they bring tighter scrutiny, higher expectations, and greater consequences. SB19 has now stepped into a space where explanations are no longer required. Their presence speaks for itself. Booking conversations shift. The tone changes. The question is no longer can they handle it, but when are they available? This night raised their ceiling in a way charts never could. After BGC, SB19 doesn't audition for relevance. They operate from earned authority. And that distinction reshapes everything that follows. New Year's Eve performances are often treated as conclusions, a final bow before the calendar turns. For SB19, this was the opposite. It was a launchpad. By anchoring one of the most visible moments of the year, SB19 entered 2026 not as contenders, but as constants. This changes the trajectory ahead. International festivals, brand partnerships, and global stages value proof over potential. SB19 didn't promise capability, they demonstrated it live, under pressure, in front of a nation. That kind of credibility travels well beyond borders. For fans, the shift is just as important. 2026 begins without uncertainty. There's no waiting to see what happens next. Confidence replaces hope. Support becomes steady, not anxious. SB19 has shown they can carry weight. Not just music. Moments like this don't repeat easily. You don't recreate trust, you earn it once and protect it forever. 2026 didn't start with noise, controversy, or overstatement. It started with certainty. And SB19 stood exactly where certainty belongs, at the beginning. SB19 didn't just light up BGC, they marked the moment 2026 truly began. If you felt that shift, you already know this was bigger than a performance, it was a statement. Like, share, and subscribe, this era isn't happening quietly, and it deserves to be documented.